Hello, welcome to another video. Today we're going to build a Typescript Web Scraper, which is going to scrape the results of this website for a bike race, the Vuelta a España, and put them into a spreadsheet. So you can see here we've got all of the results in a nice spreadsheet, and then you could do some analysis with it if you liked. This website might have changed by the time you're trying to follow along with this video. Don't worry if it has, you can use the same techniques I'm using to do similar things. So let's get started. Let me just find my terminal. Okay, so we want to start by going to our directory and making a folder. I'm going to call it Typescript Scraper video, and then we're just going to open that up with VS Code. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is set up our project and install our dependencies. So if we open up a new terminal, move that up so you can see it, and to set up a node project, we're going to run npm init -y. Okay, so that's created our package.json for us. Then we need to install a few packages. So we're going to install these as dev dependencies. We need TypeScript, TS node. That just allows us to run TypeScript files without compiling them to JavaScript first. And then nodemon, which is a tool that we can use to automatically run our package whenever there's changes made. Okay, next thing we're going to do is make a tsconfig.ts file, .json file. Now I'm going to copy in some config here. You can pause the video and write that, or I'll put the link to the GitHub repo for this project if you want to just copy and paste it in as well. We're not going to go into that just now. Okay, next thing we want to do is add a couple of scripts. So the first one is going to be start, and that tsc to compile it, and node, and that'll create a dist index.js file. Okay, if you're following along, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps out, and let me know if you've got any questions. Next script we're going to write is dev, which is going to be nodemon watch, and the file we're wanting to watch is everything in the source folder that ends with ts. And then we're going to be executing. If there's changes to that, we're going to execute with ts node the index file. Okay, now we need to install a couple of other dependencies. So we want Axio and Cheerio. Oops, Axio. Let me try that again with a -s. There we go. And then we want to install save dev the types for both of those as well. Okay, sorry, I think this should have actually been Axios, so we'll just change that there. There we go. Right, to test that this is set up right, let's make an index file within source and just say console.log project set up correctly. Oh, sorry, I realised you might not be able to see what I was doing in the console. I'll just run through quickly. So we installed Typescript, TSNode, and Nodeman, and then we installed Axios and Cheerio, and we installed the types for those as well. Types/Axios and types/Cheerio. Let me zoom in a little bit as well. Maybe if I move that across, then you'll be able to see my terminal. Okay. But again, just let me know if you've got any questions about what we've done there. Right, so now we want to npm run dev and project set up correctly. Oops, and you can see if I make a change, it restarts and reruns it. So that's really useful for development. I'll just correct that too. Okay. Now we're going to actually go on to scrape our website. So first things first, we want to import Axios from Axios, and that is going to be basically our client which we get the HTML from. So we need the URL. I'm going to use this. If you go to livevuelta.es/en/rankings though, you will get either the day you're doing it, the rankings, or if you put in stage dash something between 1 and 21, hopefully you'll get some rankings that look similar to this. Okay, so I'm going to use that URL there. And then set up an Axios instance with axios.create, and then we can do Axios instance.get the URL, and that's going to send a HTTP GET request to the URL, and we'll then call .then and we want to get the HTML out of that response, so that'll be response.data, and then let's say console.log HTML. And last, we're going to just catch any errors, so and throw those to the console. Okay, so we can format that, and you can see it keeps restarting in this terminal, and it's giving us the HTML. So there's a lot of things here, a lot of which we don't need, lots of noise. So we're going to use a tool called Cheerio to turn this into an object where we can use jQuery methods to query the HTML and get exactly what we need. So if we go back to the Vuelta page and open up our developer tools, I'm going to show you a few bits. So we've got this table. We can use this button to get exactly to the right point in the HTML. So if I click here, it takes us down here. So that's a table row. We're looking at the table body though. That's what we're interested in. And then each of these table rows contains the data. So first thing first, we want to select the table body. So going back to our code, or sorry, above the table body, we have this table called ranking table. So just in case there's multiple table bodies on the page, we should probably select ranking table and then table body and then the table rows. So I'll show you how to do that using Cheerio. So we want to import Cheerio from Cheerio, and we are then going to, rather than looking at the HTML, we're going to create a Cheerio element. So dollar is a convention for jQuery, but we're just going to call Cheerio.load HTML. Then we're going to say rankings table rows equals, and we're going to look in this Cheerio object for class of rankings table, so we can say dot rankings table, and then table body as any child elements of that, and then table row as any child elements of that. Okay, now rather than logging the HTML, let's log the rankings table rows and see what we get. So we get this thing here. It doesn't really give us much information, but I'll show you some stuff where we can now run queries on that. Sorry, it should be ranking table. Hopefully we will get a length of 180. So that's the number of riders we have basically. And you can see it's now giving us a bit more information. So data is what we're interested in, but our children is what we're interested in, sorry, but we'll parse those in a second. Okay, so we want to extract this, and the structure of the data we're going to extract, we're going to create an interface for that. So let's call it rider data, and that's going to have name, which is a string, rider number as a number, team as a string, and then hours, minutes, and seconds as numbers. Okay, underneath this ranking table rows, we're going to say rankings is an array of rider data. So we're going to have one of those objects for each rider, and we'll initiate that as just a blank array, empty array. Okay, we're now going to loop through each of these rows. So we're going to say rankings table row dot each. We'll have an index counter and an element, and then those are going to map as such. So from that we can pull out the name, and we'll do that in a second. We'll just leave a question mark just now, and then pull out the rider number, again question, and then we're actually going to get the time as an array to start with, so an array of numbers, and then we'll get the other stuff we'll get the hours, minutes, seconds out of that. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more, you have to look at the HTML basically from the web page, and you can apply this method to any web page, so you can get information. It's quite good for tabular information if you want to extract it and put it into a CSV file or anything where there's repetition in the HTML. Right, so let's have a look at our first table row. So if we want to get the name, we want this table data here. So the class of that is runner, and then within that the name is in this element here, A. So we can say lm.find, and then it's .runner A. And one more thing we need to call on that is .text to get the text value. Right, rider number. So we're going to do a similar thing for all of these, and I'll show you a little trick as well actually. We can, one second, sorry. We can do this little trick here. So what I could have done there is right click on this, copy JS path, and if I just create another file, we'll just call it test.text, paste that in, you can see it gives us the full path or the full query selector for that element. So because we started from table body, and we have the table row. For the rider, sorry, which one? What are we selecting now? I lost track. Oh, this is for the rider name. Sorry. So for the rider name, we could have also done td.runner.isSticky. So that's both the classes which are on that table data. But we just done this part, which is also okay because there's no other elements with a class of runner, and then a. Okay, so we're going to use this trick for some of the other elements. So next one we want to get is the rider number. So we go back here, we find which table data has the rider number. It's this one here, and let's just copy JS path and then work out what we need. So we have got the table row, so we just want table data nth child free. So the table row, we're not going to say that because we're looping through all of them and then we're going to get the table data. Nth child is just how, like, it's the third TD within the DR. Okay, so if we copy that, go back into here, and we can say, oops, that should be like that, lm.find, paste in what we got, and then again .text, but you notice we get an error in our TypeScript compiler. It's wanted the number, so we can simply parse int because we know that's going to be a number by looking at the web page. Okay, similar thing for team. I'm just going to copy this, and then all we need to do is change the selector. So we go back to our Chrome page. Team is this one here, and then here. So I'm going to copy JS path, paste that in here, and we have dd.breakline.team and then a within that element. And we're going to paste that in there. Okay, third one, time array. So the time, I need to make this a little bit bigger. The time is this element here. So if we copy the JS path again, and you can again use this similar technique on other web pages. So yeah, let me know in the comments what web page you scraped, or if you just managed to follow along on this web page. And then we're going to say dot text. Okay, so a few things. This isn't array yet. So what we have for time array at the moment looks exactly like what's on the web page. So 0 free h 31 apostrophe, and then 05 2 apostrophes. So I want to put that into a slightly different format. So what we're going to do is going to call some regex on that. We're going to say dot match, and the regex we want to match where there is digits, so 0 to 9 plus, so any numbers basically we want to pull out. Okay, that's going to give us an array, but an array of what does it give us? I think it should give us an array of strings, or a regex array, but it's not assignable to array of numbers. So from there, we're just going to map each value in the array to parse int of val. So we've gone from a string to an array of strings, but TypeScript doesn't know that, it just knows it's a regex match, and then we've gone to an array of integers. So let's format that a bit nicer. Okay. And rather than console.log rankings table now, let's console.log. Or sorry, once we've got this element here, we can now push it onto our rankings array. So we want to add an element with name, rider number, team. Hours will be the first element in our time array. Minutes, the second. Remember, TypeScript, our node is 0 index, so we've got 0, 1, and then seconds will be the third element, or the second index in the time array. Okay, format that again, and rather than logging the rankings table row, let's log rankings now, see what we get. Okay, so you can see we've kind of got the rough data, but it's a bit messy. So just the way the text is laid out in HTML, name and team has some new lines and lots of white space. So we want to call some methods to tidy those strings up. So let's do name first. So we can replace, first of all, we're going to use regex to replace different white space elements. So these are all the white space elements we could have: \r, \n, or \n, or \r. And we're going to replace that with a string, empty string. Okay, and then we can call .trim to clear the white space from in front and behind the name. And now you can see the name is nice. So we're just going to copy exactly the same methods and call those on the team as well. So depending on which website you're doing, you'll need to do different amounts of manipulation of the data. Sometimes websites are pretty horribly laid out, they're HTML, sometimes they're nice and easy to get data from. Okay, almost done now. You can see we've got nice objects, and you could stop here. If you wanted to analyze this in TypeScript, then having it as an array of objects is quite useful. But I want to put it into a CSV file, so we could draw some graphs if we like, or you could get data from different stages and try and create some graphs, or whatever you want. So to write this to a CSV file, we need an extra dependency, CSV writer, and we're going to import create object CSV writer from that dependency. So the CSV writer, we just give it a path and sort of the structure of the data that we're putting into the file. So we can create this instance, and we pass in a couple of things. So the first thing is the path. I'm just going to say output.csv, and then the next thing is the header. So you need to give them a name so that we can then put data under these headers, but I'm going to say for most of these, the name and title is going to be pretty similar. I'll add a capital for the name, for the title. Okay, I'm going to copy this down a few times. I think it's 6, but not entirely sure. Then we want rider number, team, hours, minutes, and seconds. And I'm just matching here exactly what we have in the interface so that it's easy to put the data in. We don't need to map it and change any names. Okay, let me just quickly change the title of the headers. Just use H minutes and seconds here. Okay, and then the last thing we have to do is at the bottom, once we've got our rankings, rather than logging it, we're going to say csv.writer, CSV writer that was right actually, .write records. I'm going to write rankings, and then once that's done, we'll just log give us a bit of feedback that it's written to file. Okay, and now if that runs, we can see it's logged, it's written to file. We've got an output.csv. We can look at it here. It looks exactly like what we want, or I can also open it up in a CSV viewer, and you see we have got nicely formatted rows with the name of the rider number, and the team, hours, minutes, seconds. So thank you very much, and well done if you managed to carry along to this part. Let me know if you've got any questions. Please subscribe to the channel, it really helps out, and I'll see you in future videos hopefully. Thank you.